Well, here we go. Hello, everyone that's listening, but especially hello, Manon.
Thank you. Hello,
Oh my,
Kaylee.
wow. All right, we're going to start at the beginning. Thank you all for joining Manon and myself today. My name is Kalia Garrido, and I am the founder of Healthy Women Leaders. Healthy Women Leaders is a collective of women in leadership who gather together for exploration, inspiration, and education on how professional women can live radically well, spoiler, with no apologies. That's an important part. Our mission at Healthy Women Leaders is to highlight the people and ideas that champion healthy living and radical self-care as a critical means to thriving in this crazy world. And this video series features amazing women who have unlocked a truth through health or wellness that inspires or encourages other people to live better lives. And today we are talking to Manon de Veritch. She is a Reiki master. She is a transformational coach. She is an energy alchemist, and she is the founder of Aligned Energy. So a little bit about your organization. Aligned Energy is a holistic wellness practice that is located physically in Gig Harbor, Washington, but I know that you're able to see people online as well.
Mhm.
And it is geared towards those that are seeking vitality, inner peace, and liberation through body work, coaching, and mentorship. Manon is also the co-author of the Amazon best-selling book, Lead Like a Woman, Gratitude, Volume 1. And she also runs a podcast called Align Energy with Manon. It is available via live stream on the Transformation Talk Revolution to 160 different countries. So vitality, inner peace, and liberation, girl, that's a tall order, but it's so needed. But let's just start at the beginning. Can we just be real friends for 1 second?
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining me today. And I'm loving reading all of this about your bio and the energy work and the holistic healing and the personal development that you are focusing on. But you know that when we met, you had a whole different operation happening, almost a whole different life. Can you
Yeah.
tell me how you came to this side of Zoom Go?
It I, so we were working together probably almost 8 years ago, right?
Yes.
Can you believe it's been that long? Um, I would say, well, just to kind of set the stage, I guess, for people that don't know, I also run an IT technology services advisory called Nuvalo. I founded that in 2010, so 16 years ago. I'm a career technologist. My whole life, I just wanted to be, um, I had no problem being the breadwinner. I wanted to be in control. I wanted to climb the ladder. I was a seeker. I just wanted to learn and grow and teach. And I really spent the bulk of my technology career helping guide executives through the cloud revolution, I call it. I started my company when everybody needed some cloud, but nobody knew what cloud was. So we had a lot of conversations in the beginning about just what it was that they had and what they needed, and then how, the competitive landscape looked and how much they wanted to own and control. And so I sat around a lot of executive tables, just having conversations with a lot of men, frankly. And I always was very comfortable in that space. And I never was trying to be in a certain energy or dynamic of them. But I think that that's just naturally how corporate women have come to be and operate, because it's sort of like that concept of attunement, where if that's what the majority of the energy is in the corporate world, to fit in, you naturally sort of attune to that. I never thought about that or said that out loud before, actually. But so I was going hard and fast, and I was growing my team nationally. I had a consulting, a staffing, and a brokerage line of business when we were working together. And I was just really trying to grow the business, with the ultimate goal of selling it someday. And I will say that probably right around that time, honestly, my body was starting to completely fall apart. I think it's not uncommon. I know it's not uncommon for women in their mid 40s to start having their physical bodies start catching up with their lifestyle. And what we would call like a midlife crisis, maybe for men, is starting to be what people are focused on, is like just midlife medicine for women, is this concept that the hormones are changing, and that's kind of bringing you into this place where you're caring less what you're saying, and you're not padding it as much, and you're starting to look at, well, I'm giving to everybody else, but what about me? And just starting to protect yourself a little bit more. So as my body went into this adrenal shutdown, literally, I just had to spend some time with myself, with my doctor, with a lot of other people in the medical field, just getting some feedback and making some different choices. And I can get into it later, but I think a big part of my story, and the story that I tell, is that there comes a point where the words just come out. You just can't anymore. You can't power through it with your mind and overthink it and strategize anymore. And every type A woman that I know, every woman leader that I know, has a very hard time with the concept of surrender and letting go. And they just keep thinking that they can strategize their way out of it or power their way out of it. And you can't do that anymore at a certain point.
I resonate with so much of that. You're right. It's not an uncommon experience at all. I think a lot of us are going through that. Your body is suddenly, standing up for you, really, is what it feels like. And it's like, we can't continue at this pace. And then you check in with your head and you're like, do I even want to continue? Like, what am I driving towards? It really, it feels like that to me too. So it sounds like you moved from this total burnout moment to something where you were able to create more of that alignment for yourself, and you got to a place of really more inner peace. So what do you think was the hardest belief that you were carrying that you had to unlearn during that transitionary time?
So are you familiar with the Phoenix arc? The concept of just release and letting your old whatever fill in the blank die, having it alchemize in the ashes, and then rise again into the new. And that's sort of become the metaphor for not only my life, but my work. I have a Phoenix logo. I love everything about the Phoenix. But what that's all to say is that I didn't realize it at the time, but what had to die was my old identity and the ego around that. I had a lot of pride in the work that I had done. I was, standing up on stage, teaching. I had a nonprofit that I started with another woman called Cloud Girls that was growing and doing really well. And like I said, growing the business. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. Literally, things were falling apart. And I will say that there are things that start happening, and you're like, you might have heard him or you might have heard it said that the universe starts throwing small pebbles and then bigger rocks and then bricks and then boulders, because it's not going to stop.
Right.
There is an energy and a momentum and an evolution that we're living that we sometimes forget that there are forces that are bigger than us at play. And I think I definitely waited too long until the clients were going away. They were making buying decisions without me. There were like arguments and confrontational things happening that were totally out of context. I would have a supplier that would, stop, multiple suppliers that would stop paying me for no reason, even though I had a contract for it. Like, everything just became very difficult and hard. And I was like, this does not feel like, why is everything so hard? And I feel like I was so blessed to have all of this burnout happen during the COVID time, because I was traveling every other week before. And this gave me an opportunity to just hunker down like a hermit and really kind of go through that complete release and recognize here it isn't. Here is your answer specifically. I think a lot of us women spend our whole life aspiring to be something that we were told that we could be, that we have had success in doing, that we had some wind in our sails, and we just kept climbing the ladder. We just kept saying, there'll be relief after this point, after this point, after this promotion, after this new boss comes in, after I close this deal, after something with my kids. And there's just not ever the relief that we think there's going to be. And there's a moment where you're like, I can't wait for that anymore. It's not what I thought it was. It's something that needs to change internally, and I need to choose me.
Right.
And what if I'm not here to be a corporate IT executive? What if that's not my identity? What does that mean for me? What does it mean to my husband and my kids and my friends and my family and the income that's coming in, the employees that I have? Like, what is that? That's super heavy moment when you realize I actually can't do this anymore.
Right.
But there's so much guilt, I think, around stepping away from that role that everybody else has come to rely on too, but nobody else is coming to save you.
Right. And that's the thing. So this is all so beautiful. I love, you said blessed to be burnt out, which is, there's a lot of truth in that. But all of those, the career achievement, the drive to really climb that corporate ladder, all of that is outside of us, right? We can get ourselves there, but these are all sort of giving the power away to other people. Are you worthy of the promotion or the new deal, or, you know, making X amount more so that you can get a slightly bigger house, and just continuing on that cycle? That's all outside of us. And that's why it can't hold all that much water forever, because when we start to get to a certain age and open up our eyes and look around and think, did I even want this in the beginning? And maybe you did. I mean, I did. It seems like you did, and you were great and successful at it, but we tie our identity so much to that career, which is outside of us. What about that woman inside? What does she want? What does she need? And so you have something that, you know, I've heard you mention before, like becoming the CEO of your body. And as a career woman, like this is a very strong visual reference for me that really resonates. So what do you think it really looks like in practice for a high achieving, high capacity woman who is used to operating in overdrive to be able to make that shift and like now focus back on yourself, like own that?
Yeah. Well, this ties in completely with empowerment and self-sovereignty. This is the concept that we have been outsourcing so many things in our lives, for validation, for healing, for feedback, and it's just the way that our culture is and our collective consciousness is. And my doctor brought this up to me because she was telling me originally that she very much believes that you don't just you really shouldn't, I should say, a lot of people do, go to one doctor, and just because they have a white coat on, you take their word for it. And there's a lot of power in what they're saying and the words that you're allowing in. And so it's a little multidimensional, but I will say that the concept is that we shouldn't give our power away to any person in particular. All of these people that we go to for influence and for advice and for feedback, friends, family, it could be medical, it could be corporate, it could be mentors. They're all meant to just be sound bites that you can then use your discernment to decide what's best for you, because there's not anybody else that's going to tell you what you should be doing or how you should be doing it. And we have never been taught to look inward and to feel through it and to check in with ourselves before we make a decision. We're taught to either take someone else's advice or get consensus and then make a community decision. I've never heard anybody say, let me just sit and breathe with that for a moment, come into my heart, see how that feels in my body. Am I naturally pulling towards someone or something, or naturally like leaning back? That happens a lot when you like interact with people. But I mean, it could be what you're eating too. It could be anything in your life. And I think this is where, and like energy is, everything is energy.
Yeah.
Is just the concept of just coming back in, checking in with yourself, and just knowing that you're the ultimate decision maker. Even if your doctor doesn't like your decision to go a different direction or to get a second opinion, or that you're going to do something holistic, or or that you're going to take a different job, or that you're going to quit your job, or that you want to leave a relationship or enter a new, it's just you. Nobody else but you. And we just need to get over the fact that anybody else's opinion really ultimately matters.
Yeah. That's fantastic. And it takes some time, and it takes some quiet to be able to hear and feel into that inner guidance like you're describing. And we live in a crazy world of always on distractions. And if you're not carving out some time to be quiet and listen to that guidance within, it can be missed. It's very interesting.
Absolutely.
So we're talking about women seeking external validation, and that's just, I mean, such a common thing in our whole lives. So what would you say is one of the first like very real shifts that we can make to start reclaiming some of our internal power?
Well, I will say that I'm an erotic blueprint coach and an intimacy coaching certification.
Tell me more.
It ties completely into my energy work. So people can come to me for energy healing and balancing chakras and clearing out, any energies that aren't serving them, and helping them ground and helping them have more clarity and vitality. But I also really love to introduce the concept that, energy is really like our life force energy, right? So there are varying degrees of it that are going on. And one of the best ways that we can tap into and access this feeling of aliveness and vitality is through coming, just looking internally within ourselves. And we do that by slowing down, like you said, just taking some deep breaths. You can close your eyes if that helps. And just noticing what you notice internally, finding places that feel good, since we're so conditioned to look for pain, and just connecting with that for a minute, breathing into that, sending gratitude into that. But ultimately, there are different things that we can do, and this is like a whole nother segment, but, to just find some ways that bring you pleasure. And that could be just touching your fingers and your hands together, putting your hands on your belly and breathing, just moving your fingers on your legs, touching. I love touching my face and my cheeks, or my eyes. And it might sound so overly simple, but it takes you into your body, and it just slows the mind down enough that you can just recalibrate and reset. And there's starting to be a lot of information coming out about our nervous system. Everything is about our nervous system. And that's like one of the number one ways that you can just come out of this fight or flight that we're chronically living in. You can also take 4 breaths in, hold it, and then 8 breaths out. Anytime you're exhaling more than you're inhaling, you're coming into your parasympathetic and out of your fight or flight. And I highly recommend doing that before you have a hard conversation, before you make a big decision, just as often as you can remember it through your day. But I have a lot of work that you can find that talks about pleasure as medicine. And I'm such a huge fan that there are a lot of things that we're getting medicated for that we don't need to, that if we just slow down and look inward and start having more of a relationship with our body and communicating with it, listening to it, recognizing that pains and weird things that are happening are all just information and ways that your body's trying to get your attention.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. All right. Well, I want to hear more about your erotic blueprint coaching. We'll save that for another time, but it seems like there's more to unpack there. So my last question for you, as we go to wrap up, is if you have somebody that's listening right now that's feeling stuck or overwhelmed or disconnected, somebody much like in the position that you described yourself to be in as you were, kind of careening off the burnout cliff, what would you recommend as one, small but really powerful thing that they could do to begin to remember that some of their own ability is, not needed externally, like we've talked about, like a small but powerful way that they can begin to remember that their strength and power is within?
Mm-hmm. That's such a good question. Really, breath is the best way and the easiest way. And I would say meditation, but a lot of women leaders are going to be like, I don't have time for that, or I can't do that, or I don't like that. I would say meditation is not necessarily being quiet. You can be walking, you can listen to music, you can dance. I really love dancing and just moving and putting some music on that just feels good. And that can be your meditation, even if it's just one song, and just give yourself permission for that to just be your time to connect with your body and notice how it feels. Also, I do this a lot in the bath. That's what I've found, is that I give myself permission to let go of all the things that are that I'm ruminating about in the bath, like just for this one time while I'm in here. That's when so just find something where you can give yourself permission to just put everything else on the back burner, tell the inner critic to take a break, or that little inner voice to just take a break. Yeah. You'll get back to it. But just connecting with yourself that's the foundation.
It's the foundation for everything, is that you don't need external permission. Although when you do say something like, take a slow breath, I feel myself wanting to take a slow breath. And, a lot of times, like I'm a healthy woman leader. I don't need permission for anything, but even something like that, it gives you the encouragement that you need. And I find that you have this very soothing and, kind of welcoming aura about you. I even want to take a breath myself at the same time. But I would just piggyback on the same thing. There's no external permission needed. Like everything that we need is baked already within us. All we need to do is focus on it and give it attention, listen to that inner voice, and let things really awaken and grow. And being a professional, busy, career-minded, ladder climbing woman, these are not skills that we practice often enough. And I think it will become a better world for women in corporate and in business and in technology, specifically where I sit as well, when we introduce some of this stuff to part of the conversation. Like we can introduce some of this, naturally in a way. You mentioned at the beginning that, your career being the only woman in the room and just kind of like shifting just a little bit so that it matched the vibe of, kind of where you were. started my career feeling that same way. I see it shifting now a little bit, and it could be because my eyes are shifting, right? I'm approaching it with a different mindset. But I think that everything you're saying is really needed to be able to make the, professional world a little more comfortable for women that are spiritually inclined and energetically attuned.
Yeah. And I would just say too that trust your intuition. You can like take a deep breath in, hold it, let it out, come into your heart, and just really know how you feel about something before you answer it, before you present something. It's astonishing the difference between operating out of your head versus operating out of your heart and your belly. Your voice changes. Your cadence is going to slow. Your voice and what your words are that you're saying, they're really going to land and resonate more. There's like an energetic shift that happens to the audience also when you do that. But don't dismiss what you feel strongly about, because we are so powerful. Women are so powerful and magnetic and radiant, but you need to be in your bodies.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the wrapper on that. Manon, thank you so much for joining me today. And to anybody who is listening, thank you for joining us as well. We, of course, hope that you've had some really great resonating moments. For more on the amazing work that Manon is doing, you can check her out at alignedenergyhealing.com. And of course, you can find more about Healthy Women Leaders at healthywomenleaders.com. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Be well.
Thank you.